podcast. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. This is my friends Dan and Rebecca. They're the second married couple I've had on my show, and when I first started this, one of the main things I wanted to do was have married people I know walking with the Lord on to share kind of their stories and how God led them together. I think that God is so specific with everyone, and what's really cool about you guys is that I don't know that much, but you were both not Christians when you got married, and then you both got radically saved later, right? Yeah. So I want to dive into all that. I love stories. And then after that, I want to talk about the prophetic journey you guys have been on. Okay. The past couple of weeks, however much you want to share or not share. Sure. But okay, so when did you guys start coming to Kings again?
October 2022.
Okay.
So it was like Halloween.
Were you guys raised Christian at all or not at all?
I was.
You were. Okay.
Very much.
So what kind of Christian household?
Like evangelical, very much like Christian, grew up going to church. My grandfather got saved by a bunch of born again nuns. He met them, and that's how he ended up getting saved.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then my mom obviously then he came home, and the rest of the family got saved except for one aunt. And then I was following the Lord very heavily until high school.
Okay, so what happened? Okay, so I guess this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna hear your story, and then we're gonna go to you guys, and then we're gonna hear how you guys get
I guess that where did we merge? So it was until high school. I was very involved, seeking God, heavily involved in youth group and going to all of the youth conferences and really on fire. And then I think I started having questions about my faith, and I didn't really have anybody to ask.
Pause 1 second. I'm so scared that Dan is not in frame right now. Okay, I'm just gonna.
It's fine.
Can you imagine if we did this whole thing and he wasn't in frame?
It's just his
shoulder. Be like the voice outside.
The voice from beyond. The voice from beyond. I mean, it works. It's kind of like. Yeah. Do you want me to keep up?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. So I started having questions, and I didn't feel comfortable asking my mom.
Questions about faith,
questions about life. Faith, about life, the whys, right? Okay. And I didn't have anybody to ask, and I was like, why is sex before marriage so bad? It's because it is. And
oh man, you didn't even have any sort of
we didn't have anybody. We bounced around from church to church, so we didn't have a solid community, and I didn't have people to truly come to with those questions. And I didn't have that kind of relationship with my parents. And then instead of being able to ask those questions, I think the enemy took my confusion and used it for me to look and say everybody in the church is a hypocrite. And I started seeing the flaws in people rather than seeing people are imperfect, but they're still seeking God and he can use them. And I was just you're all hypocrites. And it was senior year of high school. I fully walked away and I went to college, and that was just a whole experience. And I was just done. I was done.
Oh man. Okay. Would you say that your church experience, I know you bounced around a lot, did it feel like the Holy Spirit was ever talked about? Was it pretty dead spiritually?
It was more you seek speaking in tongues.
Okay.
And that's it.
And that was it.
And that was it. And listening for God's voice wasn't something that we talked about. And it was you come in, you worship, read your Bible, try to speak in get the speaking in tongues anointing, and then be on your merry way.
Oh wow. Okay. And it makes me sad that all you knew about sex was that it was bad unless it was in marriage.
Yeah.
That no one ever went deeper than that or gave whys or
the whys about that, the whys about following God, why? Where's the benefit? It sounds it's such a silly thing, just but when you're but when you're a teenager and you're trying to kind of figure out how do you view life and how do you apply your belief system, and you don't have these these very, very, like, they're kind of basic, but they're so core. You don't have somebody to answer those questions. I think it's a slippery slope. And it, like, the enemy just needs the smallest opening, and that happened, and my sisters walked away from God. And
how many sisters do you
have? I have 2. Okay. So I'm in the middle of 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Big family.
Yeah.
So 2 sisters,
2 brothers.
2 brothers. Okay. I can do math.
Yes.
Okay. So did anyone else walk away, or was it just
everybody? All 5 of us.
No. Okay. How are your parents with that? Like, or did they walk away too?
No, they did. They never. Like, my mom is like a very strong Christian. I think it hurts them to see it. But my eldest sister and I both like found our way back around the same-ish time, maybe a year apart. Okay. So obviously now we're like heavily praying for the other 3, but yeah, we all just walked away.
Wow. Oh man. Do you think like? Okay, we're just really gonna like.
Yeah.
You know,
go for it.
I'm not trying to like pry, but like, did you feel like your parents didn't disciple you? Like, if they discipled you, this would have been different, or do you think they tried?
So, I'll say this: my mom is like the spiritual head of our family, and not my dad, and that isn't the way it should be.
Yeah.
And I think because my dad didn't lead, he didn't take up the mantle and be like the priest of our household. We didn't have that like discipleship from my parents. My dad worked all the time, so he was very absent, and it was just my mom. And I think she had anxiety, she had a lot of anger, and all of that I think just was able to be used to pull us out of being in the fold.
Wow. Yeah, my dad passed away when I was 12. But we grew up Christian. My mom was the born again Christian though. Like, my dad was raised Catholic, and you know, I think he gave his life to the Lord in the end. Like, but I mean, I guess you don't really know, right? But, I mean, my mom knows. She says she knows. I'm not trying to doubt like where my dad is. Anyway.
Yeah.
But like, you know, my mom stayed a Christian, but you know, I've been convinced that Christ is Lord like since I was 9, so I kept going to church, but like my brother just totally didn't want to go anymore, even though my mom would still try to have him go. Like, it is a difference when your father's not there, like, you know.
It's so different.
Living.
It's so different because I think as kids, especially when you're dealing with like God is your father, and there's no physical, you don't see God, but like the closest thing for children is your earthly father, to kind of apply that framework to God. And if your father is not shepherding you, and your mom is, there's a tension there that I think can create a lot of confusion.
Yeah, totally. Okay, Dan, what about you? So, did not grow up Christian, right?
Well, actually, I did. So I actually went to a Methodist high school, and my family did go to church growing up. Just kind of, I guess, cookie cutter, non-denominational.
Okay.
You know, not particularly focused on gifts of the Spirit, or just like anything like too bold. It's just like, oh, you know, like, here's the gospel, and you should really give your life to Jesus and become a Christian. And like, there was no, like, you know, we always talk about at Kings, right? Like, equipping the saints. There wasn't really none of that, right? Equipping you to seek spiritual gifts, equipping you to, you know, make arguments for your faith, right? Explaining to you, like, you know, what God is really like, and like what the, you know, the journey is supposed to be like, and all that. So, you know, it was not built on a firm foundation, I think, for me. You know, the Methodist school was great, but like, you know, they can only do so much, right? Like with like once a week, like chapel services and stuff. But it was kind of like the watered down version of Christianity, right? That you see on Super Bowl ads, like, oh, Jesus is love, and he washed the feet, and then they forget.
Oh my God, we've got to talk about that ad.
Yeah, they conveniently forget about
that ad.
about that. Well, he also did, flip tables at the temple and thrash people with whips, but, let's not talk about that kind of stuff. And, my father was, I think, largely absent in terms of, being sort of the spiritual head of the household. I think, if you ask him, he'll say, "Oh, well, I told you to write down memory verses and stuff like that," but he never really talked to me about that. And he worked hard and he wanted to provide for us, and but I think he kind of took that to one end of the spectrum, and then it was working hard, and then it was hanging out with his buddies, and then leftover time for us, but it was never really focused on Christianity or trying to disciple the kids. So I'm just one of two. My sister is 12 years younger than me, and she's adopted. So for the two of us, it was never really a focal point. So I was in the church until I finished my military service, and then I went overseas for college, and I just said,
No, you were in the military?
Yeah.
That's cool.
For 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
It's mandatory in Singapore, so everybody has to do it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, typical military experience.
Wait, so you grew up in Singapore?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, no, not in the United States. I'm not American citizen.
No. It's a green card marriage.
Yes.
Wait, but so you're a citizen now, right?
No.
No, still?
No.
Wait, you don't just become a citizen if you marry an American?
No, he didn't.
I can apply for it, but
Oh.
I decided not to because I have a green card. I can stay here
And pay taxes
pay
and not
taxes
vote.
and all that stuff. Yeah.
So are we wanting him to become a citizen?
I would like it.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me I should and go and vote and all that stuff, but
I mean, for somebody who's very opinionated about politics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's another conversation.
Another day.
Should women vote? Question number 2.
If they have to serve in the draft, yeah, I know.
I think women vote terribly.
They do.
But now it's we have it, so what are we supposed to do? We can't just take it away now. I don't think we can go back. It's kind of, we can theorize and argue all day, should we have gotten it? Probably not, but we have it now, so what's the point of continuing to, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wish we didn't have it because we tend to vote terribly.
We do.
I
mean, I never did.
And women vote better once they're married.
Yeah.
And they change and become mothers and wives and stuff. They tend to vote like their husbands, who tend to be more conservative. And now we have a marriage decline, so we got all these feminist single women voting like morons.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's a little rant right there. But okay, so you're not even an American.
No.
We're gonna we're gonna pray not to shame. Sorry, we're giving you such a hard time. Okay, I wanted to ask you guys both, what does spiritual headship look like of the home, do you think? Because sometimes, what if the wife is the more, theological, Bible study type, does it always look like, the husband or the father leading Bible studies? What does it look like to you guys?
I think that's a good question. I think with our marriage, the way it is, it's not like Bible studies at all, but I think he sets the example. He sets the example of how our family is going to follow God. So we don't make any decisions without praying heavily about it. When the kids are being disciplined, well, just Freya, because Rafe he doesn't know where his nose is, so we're not disciplining him. But Freya, it's we explain it through as much as she can understand through a biblical framework. And I think
we talk a lot about Jesus.
We talk a lot about Jesus, but not only that. Sitting at the dinner table, we talk about politics. We talk about God. We will talk about our own things that we're going through with our walk in front of them, and
so you're just normalizing
Christianity.
Okay. I see.
And I mean, I think for Dan though too, it's I encouraged him to take up this role. Like I'm like, you are the head of our family, and like I shouldn't be making these big decisions. Like, you need to make them. Some decisions I make, but the really big decisions, like, he's the final say. And I respect that role that he has.
So it's also just letting your children see, like, who's clearly, you know, like, who's the final decision maker.
Yeah.
Like, okay. That's cool. I was curious about that because I saw this, like, a theological woman I follow, like, post the other day about how, like, she's, you know, it can look like, as long as her husband's the head, like, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's the one always leading, like, Bible study. Like, he's still the spiritual decision maker of the house and the head, but he's, you know, he's working most of the time, and he's, like, providing. He's doing what a man should do for his family.
Yep.
And she does more of the, you know, actual biblical, like, you know, teaching to her children. And I think some women always think that only, you know, the husband should be doing that, or, like, it only is right if he's doing that.
Which it's like, but then you want your husband to provide, and so then you're gonna have hours and hours a day that your kids aren't being exposed to it. Like, I read the Bible to them. I put on worship music with them when he's not around. Like, I'm the one who tries to cultivate that spirit within our home. So especially when he comes home, because he has a stressful job, and it's a nice, the atmosphere is a place of, like, worship, and we've it's where the Holy Spirit dwells. It's an extension of the church, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So. Cool. Yeah, because I think a lot of people think that, like, they put headship in a category where they think it has to look a certain way. You know, a lot of women at least.
Yeah. Which is
like the like washer and the word, they take that so literally, but, like, ultimately I think as like a wife, yeah, like, of course you want your husband to cover you spiritually, but, like, ultimately, like, your relationship is, like, it depends on you, like, between you and the Lord, you know. What else did I want to ask you guys? Okay, so how did you guys meet? So
we met online.
Okay. Just, like, on a
we met on the creepiest app that probably is, like, they probably have, like, a million lawsuits.
I remember you telling me this very briefly last year. It was it's the app where if you walk by each other, you can see if they have it, and then you can match, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. What's it called again?
It was called Happen. I don't know if it's still around. I haven't downloaded it since I deleted it, but yeah.
Where did you guys walk past each other?
Well, it was one or two. I think it was by work.
Yeah. I think it was in Midtown West.
Okay.
Because we worked about, I think, 2-3 blocks away from
each other.
And
yeah.
Were you guys both working in law at that point? Or?
I'm not a lawyer. I'm a finance chick. I was gonna say a finance bro, and I'm like, that's wrong. That's totally wrong. I'm like, what is it? What is it? There's no really female equivalent. I mean, I'm sure there is, but it's probably some sort of, like, pejorative. But I worked in finance. I worked at a horrible hedge fund at the time.
What'd you do? Were you a trader?
I did everything. I was an analyst. Or
okay.
No. What was I doing at that time? Compliance.
Oh, you were compliance. Okay. All right.
That was a job.
And you were practicing law.
He was practicing
law.
law.
So you guys worked in Midtown in the same.
We worked in Midtown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what year was this? What was this?
2016.
Okay.
Yeah. So we met on St. Patrick's Day 2016.
Okay.
Yeah. We had matched a couple days prior. I'm like, oh, he's an Asian guy. He's probably short.
Wow.
Wait,
racist.
So, but you matched him, right? So there was.
I matched. It was like, oh, his eyes don't look like a creep. He doesn't look like a creep. I always looked at guys' eyes. Like, that was my thing. I'm like, he doesn't look like a total creep. And he's a lawyer, so he probably makes good money, maybe.
She was thinking pragmatically. She works in finance.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm like, he's short.
Did the app not say his height? Like,
no, he didn't put his height. Did you? I put my height because I'm like I'm not tall, but I'm not short. So I'm like.
Pretty sure I put mine.
No, you did not. Well, then you. No, you did. There's one picture that he looked really short. I'm like, he's a short little Asian guy. Are you looking it up? No, you're not. Anyway.
But
we
matched. You gave it a chance.
I gave it a chance, but I was like, I'm not going to talk to him. He can reach out to me. When I was getting my hair done, and then you don't need to read our weird text. We had a really weird text like conversation.
It's not in there.
Weird in what way?
It was weird. It was like super nerdy. He was like, "Are you gonna go out and do some like mild stalking tonight or some weird?" It was just It was really nerdy. And it wasn't even like cute. It wasn't cute. It was like stupid. It was just stupid. It was lazy. I was tired. I was so tired by that point. Like I had gone on 97 dates before I met Dan.
Okay, so you were tired of dating.
I was tired of dating.
You were tired that day. You were just tired.
Sure, I was tired that day. or I was on something and I should have been tired and I wasn't. But I was supposed to go on a date with another guy. And I like kept looking at his pictures and he had cauliflower ears. So I was like, no, I'm
Cauliflower
He
ears.
did because he looks like a wrestler. I'm pretty sure the guy was a wrestler. And I'm like, I can't do it. So anyway, I ended up going out with Dan. But I walked up. We met on 10th and Greenwich. You know that where the happiest hour is?
No. I bet I've seen it though. I bet I'm just not.
What's the other place over there? Rosemary's?
Yeah.
Rosemary's, yeah.
Okay, right there.
I went there for brunch the other day.
Yeah, we met right there. And I walked up and I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to marry this guy.
Really?
That's the first thing. I hadn't even
really?
said anything
Why?
to him.
You just knew?
I just knew.
Did you feel like that?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I just
Guys.
knew. Like I knew. And I'm like, oh,
That's
really?
crazy.
Really? We hadn't even talked. And I'm like, and I walked,
Do you think, okay, looking back, do you think like, oh, wow, that was Holy Spirit inspiration?
it
or
had
was
to be.
just-
2 weeks before I met Dan, I remember, like, I'd never prayed except if I was, like, really just down in the dumps. I remember 2 weeks before I met Dan, like, I was sitting in my apartment just weeping because my life was sucked. And it did. And I was just like, God, where is he? Because I knew I was going to meet my husband on an app. Like, I just had, like, such a strong conviction. I'm sure that was the Holy Spirit, too.
Wow, yeah, because a lot of people would say the Holy Spirit would lead them to not think that.
Yeah.
Must have totally been the Holy Spirit.
Yeah. But, yeah, I walked, I'm like, oh, great. I'm going to marry him. But then I was like, I wasn't close enough. Like, I saw him, like, I'm going to marry this guy. And I'm like, I got to get closer to make sure our heights are okay. I'm like, okay, he's slightly taller than me. We're fine. I don't really wear heels. We're fine. He's slightly taller than me.
I love this so much.
So, yeah, we just knew. I just knew.
So how long did you guys date before?
We got engaged. We dated for 10 months.
Something like that, yeah.
See, that's how it's done, man. Like, we don't have to take that long.
No.
And then in March, and then we got engaged.
February.
No, about 11 months. Well, February the next year.
Yeah.
And then we got married in
December
of
that
that
year.
year. Yeah.
So you guys just had, dating was so easy and, I mean, not easy, but like.
It was so familiar. Like,
Okay.
it wasn't like, oh, I love him, and like, it was not like that. I was like, there was just this immediate comfort. And like, we
Amazing.
settled into this like, just rhythm. Like, it was like we had known each other forever. So, and we had really deep conversations, like really early on. Like, we didn't tiptoe around the hard stuff.
Yeah.
We were very much aligned on what we wanted out of life at the time. That's changed now, obviously. But, yeah, it was God. Obviously, it was God.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so, and then when did you guys become Christians? How did that happen?
That's a longer story.
Or I guess, not become, I mean,
I'll tell it's like here. I'll
revert, I guess? Would you consider yourself a Christian when you guys were growing up?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, when I was growing up, yes. But then I like walked away and I was like, I'll go back. I'm like, eventually I'll go back. Let me enjoy myself. And then I'll go back. And I remember like I met Dan and I was a mess. Like I was like on drugs. I was a mess.
You were on drugs? What drugs?
I was like taking Adderall, like it was like a Pez. Like
Oh my gosh, really?
Oh, it was so bad. Yeah. It was bad. I just stopped when I met him. Like it just like stopped.
So just like a way to focus so you can make more money? Like why were you doing that? Was it a way to escape?
I think there's a little bit of everything. I loved that like I love that like
I love how you're so honest.
I know,
I
it's
love
so
it.
bad.
I love it.
But I loved the feeling of like I would take an Adderall and I would like pound a coffee and I would be like shaking and I would get like 8 hours of work done in like 3 hours and I'm like I am so good at my job, like I'm so awesome. Like you kind of like it was just this false sense of like how cool you are. It was an escape, I think, but also I was super efficient. So I kind of
That's the worst. Like, you know, people who are high functioning, like alcoholics or whatever. That's like always the worst. Not that you were an alcoholic, but
oh no, I probably was an alcoholic too. Actually,
like I've seen people in the finance world because I work in finance who like drink all day and they're really good at their job still.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is because you're not like out here making a fool of yourself. Like this is worse than if you.
Yeah, I worked for some of those guys. Like you wouldn't talk to them after 2 because they were just a little too sauced. But anything prior to 2, I'm like, you're brilliant. You're like Churchill. Like you can.
Oh, that's right.
It's amazing. But yeah. But I like stopped all of that.
Did you know that she was like kind of a mess when you met her? Like.
Yeah, I mean, like she told me about it.
So are you.
Well, it's not about me right now. So, I'm just answering the question.
So you guys were both a little dysfunctional.
A little
but you worked
dysfunctional.
together.
Yeah.
This is so great.
Yeah, we were totally dysfunctional. Yeah, a lot of drinking, a lot of just stupid stuff. But like, yeah, when I met Dan, like I stopped doing all the drugs almost immediately.
It's amazing.
And yeah, it wasn't like, oh, I had this like epiphany. Like it was just like, I don't need to do it anymore. I just stopped. You can jump in now, so I don't look like just like the wild child with the problem.
Sure. I guess like once I left for college, I just kind of stopped going to church, and didn't really have any faith, any relationship with God, and then I moved to the U.S. in 2005. Yeah, 2005 for law school, and then I just kind of did that and started working, and same thing. Working a bunch, drinking like way too much, like probably one of the like high functioning alcoholics, basically. I think not like a huge party guy, but like partied quite a lot, I think. Hung out with the wrong women. Just, like, bad situation. But, at the time that we met, I was like, kind of need to settle down. Not like anything like Christian focus, or just like, you're getting
just
old,
like,
like you should
okay.
probably
You're
get
getting
married.
You're getting
blah,
old,
blah,
you're
blah.
tired.
This is the time to do this step now. So
Yeah, I think the key to like dating in New York is find somebody who's like tired. Like just get them when they're weak and pounce.
Yeah,
And,
it's
no.
like, well,
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just totally kidding.
No, I think it's actually really good advice. You gotta find the other guys who are just tired of the bullshit.
Yeah,
That's what you gotta do. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so you guys got married in 2016.
So we got married, and then we were both working. I went back to school. I ended up getting my master's.
Oh, what were your all's goals, like before Christ? So
my goal was to be a CEO or a COO of a startup.
great. And you got like just
Just
power
working
couple
on job.
together.
Like it was just power
both
couple.
working.
Like we'll have some kids. We'll get a nanny. And
Okay, you wanted to do the like.
the New York thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
And
so
you
like,
never wanted to be like one of those rich stay-at-home like.
no, that would drive me nuts.
Okay.
That would have.
Say
that
she
now.
definitely did not want to do
I
that.
like no.
She
It would.
really
I mean,
wanted
like
to
the
work.
like the Upper East Side like
Yeah.
rich mothers who like send
Yeah,
their
like
kids
I'm on
to
a
prep
board,
school.
and I'm on a board of some. Like,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You never wanted that.
No.
You
no.
wanted to be the CEO.
I wanted to
Yeah,
work.
okay.
Like I have really bad ADD. I can't sit still. So I always wanted to work, and I don't know how to relax. So it made sense. But yeah, we got married.
You still don't know how to go.
I don't know how to relax. I don't know how to relax. That's fine. I'm really.
Relaxing is hard for me.
It's
too.
way too hard. It's boring.
I don't move around, but my brain is constantly.
I read and then just kidding. what happened? So we got married. He was working a ton because he was trying to make partner.
Okay.
I was out at. I just graduated with my MBA, and then I went to a startup. Right? Yeah. So a little bit of a blur. So we were both working. I'd say like 80-hour weeks. Like we were 2 ships passing in the night. Like it was a joke of a marriage.
What, were you guys fine, or like did it work for you, or was it
No,
not good? Okay.
no. I tried to leave a few times. I was like, I'm done. This is pointless. Like we're basically roommates. It was very bad, and I tried to leave a few times. I contacted a broker to look at an apartment one time. Like it was not pretty. It wasn't pretty. We weren't in sync at all.
Okay.
And then COVID happened. And then we worked from home. We got pregnant with Freya.
Okay.
Things, and like, because we were around each other more, like we were talking more, I feel like we kind of had an opportunity to get to enjoy like our marriage, which like we got married and then we just continued down like these insane like career paths.
Right.
But this slowed us down. Not everything bad with COVID, not everything bad, but
I thought COVID was good.
I think it did a lot of good and a lot of
That
bad.
probably sounds bad to say.
It's the aerial days of spraying people down with Lysol when they walk.
Okay, to be honest, I was in the city for like the first month of COVID, and I'm kind of an introvert, so I was like, I loved that I didn't have to go into work anymore. I was just like walking around doing my thing, and like everyone was too scared to go outside. I was like, this is great, no one's outside. Like,
Yeah.
I had a grand old time.
Yeah, we had just gotten a car and we drove around and we're like, it's like I Am Legend. This is awesome.
Right.
Get around Manhattan in 15 minutes.
Cool. Like,
No traffic. That's great.
Okay, so good things came out of COVID because you guys could connect again.
Yeah.
You got pregnant.
We got pregnant.
Okay.
We had Freya, and then so we were living in the village during this BLM. I'm gonna call them a riot because it was a riot.
It was a riot.
We were living in the village during the BLM riot,
and
that was like
It's kind of a catalyst for us to really have this desire to just get out of New York.
get out of New York.
And then we did.
were you guys conservatives in general?
I've
Or
always
were you
been.
okay?
Not him. He
Okay.
liked. I'm not gonna say anything.
I used to think Bernie Sanders
Oh,
was
I
cool.
get it.
I used to. But I was never
get
really
it.
like
lot
a
of people-
political.
Yeah.
2016 when was it 2016? Yeah, when we walked by a bar and I saw that Trump was winning, I was so happy, and he was like, I can't believe this country, and I was
Yeah. So I was in more close to his space actually in 2016 probably. I was making fun of both candidates. I was making fun of Hillary and Trump.
well,
And
yeah.
I think I voted for the third party, Libertarian. And then
Ralph
I was in theater in college, so I knew all these liberal people in college who were literally sobbing about Trump. So then me having a wayward heart of compassion, I felt bad that people were sad. Then I would yell at my family for stop making light of this, people are hurting, things like that. It's just so funny.
Dan's roommate at the time, we walked into their apartment and she's sitting there on the couch crying, and I just wanted to start laughing. I'm like, this is a joke. You people really Hillary Clinton. Hillary.
Okay, so you were always pretty conservative
Always.
politically.
Yes.
Dan, you were more on the left. You were a Bernie bro.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're an idealist, I grew up in California, so I know the Bernie bros for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2020 also sent you guys on a journey of discovering what the truth is, or?
So 2020 kind of came and went. Freya was born, and then we were dealing with it. He was you had turned. I turned him. I got him on Ben Shapiro. I got him to listen to.
He turned a corner.
Well, the Brett Kavanaugh stuff is what
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I started sending him all these podcasts.
What else is a lie?
Yeah.
Who else is lying?
Yeah, I red pilled him. I proudly can say that I red pilled you.
I'll give you credit for that.
Yes. But yeah, 2020 was had baby. I got fired from my job. Like, it was a whole thing. Which was the best thing that probably could have happened now when you look back. But we went to Georgia. So February 2021, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We went to Georgia because my sisters were down there. We're like, we have to get out of here. Like, we just went down there.
And one of your brothers.
Yeah, one of my brothers. Sorry. Forget about him.
Don't forget about Steven.
He doesn't visit. But yeah, so
Steven needs the Lord, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, we're praying for Steven.
Yeah, he needs the Lord. Big time.
Big time.
Yes. Okay. You can fill in.
Well, yeah, I mean, we moved there. We went to visit, and we stayed there for longer than expected.
Okay.
And I think we kind of liked the space and the lifestyle. It was just easier than dealing with a lot of crap in New York. So then we bought a plot of land. I think it was like 6 acres or something like that of land.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have chickens.
Oh my
We're gonna
gosh.
beehive.
We're gonna build a house. But then it wound up just being way too expensive to do it. So then we started looking at ready built houses around the Atlanta metro area. And we put in I don't know, 5 offers or something like that, and then each one was just at the last minute, no, rejection. And the last one was I think the best because it was the best house. It had everything that we wanted: pool,
everything,
garden, almost brand new and within price range. And it was not listed. The broker got us in. We were taking a look at it, and then on the way out, we saw one of the competing brokers saw that we were getting out, and she knew who we were, and then she wrote to the owner of the house who was ready to sell it, and was basically don't sell to these people. I can get you $2 million plus for this place, whatever.
Wow.
So it totally fell through, and then at that point we were are we really supposed to be here? And for me work was requiring me to be a little bit more back in New York, so it wasn't really working out just logistically. And then I think
I got that job.
we moved back. Yeah, then Rebecca got a job at a different startup back in New York, or was it Connecticut? So
he was
here
in
this area.
Yeah.
So this is 2021 now.
2021.
This is September 2021. We came back.
Yeah, we moved back September 2021. That was it. I mean, decided just.
We came back. Yeah, we sold our.
Were you guys Christians at that
No,
point? No,
we're still not Christians.
Wow.
God is slamming doors in our faces.
Praise God.
Before
He's literally directing.
Yeah, literally. Before we even packed up the moving truck, or it was the day we packed, we were about to drive down to Georgia. We were still in New York. I could not sleep, and I was shaking, and he was sleeping on the couch that night because my sister was here, and I could not sleep, and I'm shaking. I'm we're making a mistake. I was freaking out. I'm this is wrong. I just knew it, and he's just this is just a new season. We're just going through a new season. This is a transformation, and we're so used to New York. And I'm okay, but that
But I was also you hate New York, so
yeah.
You should be
you
should be happy.
He's what are you doing? You're the one who kind of pushed for this. I'm I know, I think I'm wrong. Yeah. So we're still not Christians, and then it's.
I like Georgia, by the way. I could be a down south country boy.
No, you can't. No, you could not.
Yeah, all the guys at the bar love me. At Guston's. You should go and eat at Guston's in Kennesaw. That's great.
I actually love to visit Georgia. I've always wanted to go to Savannah.
Don't go. It sucks.
Not that great.
All right, you heard it here.
Sorry, all of your Savannah viewers you're gonna get hate mail now. Now you're gonna have a bunch of viewers
Oh my
from
God,
Savannah.
that's so funny. Why don't you like Savannah?
We everybody was pumping up Savannah, and we went.
It wasn't that great. Okay.
It was so. I don't know. Maybe we're just not meant to be in the South. There's something wrong with us. But it was boring. I
only a few things to see, maybe that Forrest Gump bus stop.
The bench.
The bench.
And that one scoop of ice cream.
Yeah, there's a really good ice cream place.
Oh, the cemetery. The cemetery is really cool.
Where they filmed Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That was pretty cool.
That was cool. So go there for a
It's like
cemetery,
limited
a
things.
bench, and a scoop of ice cream.
Did you like any other part of Georgia or just anti-Savannah?
You didn't actually like Georgia. Like, I actually don't like Georgia.
I was fine with it.
No, you weren't. He was not.
It was generally fine. I could like hang out and like do whatever and just.
You were like, you were cracking beers at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon most days. Like,
What you do down in the south.
He was self-medicating. He was not
So
okay
bored.
with it. You were so bored. It's not, yeah. Anyway.
Oh, that's so funny. That's why I love the idea of Nashville. I think I'm moving to Nashville end of June.
Yeah.
Because there's still like a city there. There's still like stuff to do.
Yeah, unique culture. We were kind of in a wasteland.
Yeah. I bet it's so hard to transition from New York City to just straight up south.
Yeah, it was too jarring.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, a little bit.
It was.
It's so cool though. Relaxed.
It's relaxing. Yeah. But anyway, we came back. I took this job. You were going back into the office. And still not Christian. And I'm working for this guy who was just
Horrible
I don't know a good way to describe him, but it was bad. Like I worked remotely and I like
I mean, he
cried.
praised. You can tell her like he praised Mao Zedong on
Yeah, he
like
did.
internal Slack channel.
Yeah.
He's like one of my idols or something. Like this guy who literally killed millions of people. Like,
Psycho.
Yeah.
I love him. That's what he said.
Yeah. And
Was
what
he
it-
Chinese?
No, he's Italian.
So, I mean, if you said Mussolini, I'd be like,
Like
okay,
Mussolini, fine. Yeah, go
Because
for
you were
it.
Italian.
At least it kind of makes sense.
Yeah,
But,
even
like,
Stalin would make a little more sense, but
What the hell?
it was very weird. It was a weird place, but I like hated that job. I've never hated a job like that. And I like every morning I cried. Again, God being like, wake up. I cried and cried. I'm like, I shouldn't be here. I remember calling my dad and being like, this guy is evil. He wants me to like find all the conservatives in the company and like,
What?
oh yeah, he wanted me to create a fake Facebook profile, find all the conservatives.
It's like reverse Schindler's List
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't this illegal? Could you like this?
He
Sounds...
wanted me to find things so that he could
What
fire
a
them.
psycho.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god.
It was a terrible place. But
Was the money good at least?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of course. Okay.
Money was very good.
There's at least one reason.
There was
we
good money
stuck
and I
with
had
it.
stock options, so I'm like, oh, I'll suck it up.
Oh my god.
But yeah. But that was another thing. It was like I just felt that same feeling of like I shouldn't be doing this. I should be raising my daughter, which was a very new feeling for me.
Oh, I bet, yeah.
And then I was like, one day Dan and I were sitting there. We had moved because we sold our apartment and we had moved down to Fidei. We lived right off of Fulton, which for all you New Yorkers, you know, right off of Fulton is
Cute.
yeah,
Yeah,
Bro.
cute.
yeah. It's really, really cute.
That's where I work, by the way. I'm like right there on Water Street.
That's even better though. Than we were
Yeah,
on Dutch.
yeah,
we were on
yeah.
19 Dutch. We're like,
Yeah.
yeah, all the drug dealers hung out outside of our door. But we're like,
You get light at like for 1 hour a day. Like,
yeah, it was like a
In like
joke.
one little corner.
Yeah, it was just a weird place.
Friday's so dark because of all the buildings. I
It's
would
so
never want to live
cavernous.
there.
It's so cavernous.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then I was walking the dogs one morning and I saw this cracked out homeless dude assault. I think it was like some trans dude, woman, whatever. It was a guy who was kind of dressed like a woman, so trans woman. So he just walks up to this dude on the street and he just like clocks him in the face, like right in the eye socket.
Oh my
and
God.
this poor fella is like wearing glasses, so like the frame breaks and then like he's bleeding profusely and like run up to this person and like, are you okay? You know, and then like I call 911 and I'm like, oh, you know, there's like a young man here, I think he's like 23, 24, like he's bleeding, can you please send an ambulance? And you know, it was just awful. The guy ran off and I don't think they ever caught him.
No, of course
so
not.
we were just like,
Oh my god.
you know,
But we're like, what the heck are we doing here? Like that was
Yeah.
the thing. Like that was like, what are we doing here? And then we're like, okay, we're gonna raise Freya, it was just Freya at the time. We're gonna raise Freya here, so we're like trying to look for a school.
Yeah.
Even the Christian schools were like sketchy. They didn't want to give us their like list of their clubs, and we're like, okay, what the heck? And then I was like talking to Dan, and I'm like, we need to go to church. I'm like, I think we need, like, she needs to have faith. Like, she needs to have something, or she's gonna be weird. Like, she's gonna be a weird person who doesn't have any
Parenthood
faith.
makes people like go to church. It
Yeah.
really does.
Yeah, and he was like, he's like, yeah, okay. I had been
I
saying,
thought she was crazy.
Okay.
Like,
yeah,
seriously,
but
like,
I've been
what's wrong
saying
with
like, yeah, and I was like, if we're gonna live here, we have to go to church, and like, we have to find like new community because all of our friends
We
are.
have to meet nice, like good people.
We need
like,
to meet
nice
good people. Like that was like the first motivation. Like maybe we need to go to church to meet people because
We gotta have someone to call if
Yeah.
like, we're in trouble.
yeah, like all of our friends are degenerates. Like
No
like,
one's married with
nobody.
kids.
Nobody's married with kids.
They're
They're all
all-
You're
like,
gonna edit that part
alcoholics.
out of the tape, right?
well, no, because none of them are
I'm just
friends with
kidding.
us anymore. Nobody's friends with us anymore. So
Probably
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
They canceled you though. Like
Yeah.
I thought, well, my view of Christian people at that point in time was that they're all crazies. Like, I literally thought, like, these are people who are so deluded, you know, they're, like, out on the street, like, with those, like, literally, like, what we did last summer, like, preaching out on the street, and I thought they were just insane.
I thought you were gonna say
Yeah.
Westboro Baptist, but
Oh, well, I mean, like, those two, but,
Yeah.
you know, but just, like, total weirdos.
Yeah.
So I think by the time we got to Kings, I was like, huh, like, these people are actually kind of cool and like normal. And
Yeah.
you know, like
Yeah.
they get it. Like they I don't know how else to put it, but like they get it.
But yeah, but we still did it. I was asking for a year to go to church, and I would like find a church, and he was just like, meh.
I just thought she was nagging me.
But this all started, like the whole church, even me like pushing to go to church started, like I was rocking Freya one night to sleep because she was the worst sleeper on the face of the earth. She was so bad. I'm still scarred from it. But
Aw.
she wouldn't sleep unless she was like rocked until she was asleep, and then you
Was
could
she
put her
like,
down.
what
Colic?
was- Yeah. Was she,
No.
No?
She was just a jerk.
She was a very bad sleeper.
She wasn't colic because apparently like there's all these like things and she didn't hit the milestones for being a
Oh,
colicky baby,
man.
and I was like, well, she's okay, and she just wants to do her own thing, which is, I mean, Freya, yes, she wants to do her own thing. But I was rocking her to sleep, and I had not prayed again. Still had not prayed, and it was November of 21, and I'm rocking her. And I just like am looking down on her at her, and I just like started crying, and I just like kind of like I was like, what the heck? Like, what are we doing? Like, what are we doing? Like, we're still not living like a really best life. Like our marriage was okay at that point, but it wasn't great. And like we have this little girl, like we have this huge responsibility. I'm rocking her, and I'm just like, just overcome with, I think, all the stuff that happened. And I just had like, I'm sure it's the Holy Spirit, just like all the, like my entire life just flashed before my eyes, and like all the mistakes, like all this stuff. And I just felt like God say like, look at your daughter, like see how much you love her. Like that's how much I love you. Like I forgive, like you can talk to me, you can seek forgiveness, and I will forgive you. And I just like prayed again. I'm like, I asked for forgiveness for everything. And then I just would rock her. And I like, that was one night. And I was like, well, that was weird. I'm like, that was weird. Like, that was a weird thing. And then it happened every night for a year. Because I had to rock Freya to sleep. So every night, but it wasn't me. Like, I the second night I'm rocking her, and I just started praying for Dan. Praying for Dan for a year. And
Almost 2 years, I think.
a year and a half it ended up being.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kept praying for Dan because I knew that like he needed to come to God in order for our family to be like a truly
to be
Christian.
on board.
Yeah. Because we all know statistics. If the mom comes to Christ, 17%. If the father comes to Christ, it's like over 90.
Yes.
And I like knew that. And I just like kept praying for him, and I just like kept seeing things like in my mind about Dan, and like what he's supposed to be. And like I just kept saying, like, he's gonna be a warrior for you, like, please cut through like the lies, like show yourself to him. And you know, we finally got to Kings. We streamed Kings one time and we're like, okay, David's not an idiot. he's smart. He's a smart guy.
He's a
like,
lawyer too.
Yeah, he's like,
Wait a
yeah, he's eloquent. Like, all right. Like he's not like, he doesn't have all this circular reasoning that some of the pastors did. And we're like, all right, cool. So we went, and I was like, okay, this is where we're supposed to be. He's like, yeah, the people seem cool.
Yeah, well, I mean, at that point in time, I just thought, oh, this sounds like a good idea. Like, we kind of need, like, community because we're, you know, more conservative people here in the city. So this makes a lot of sense. Like, what can we get out of this? You know, that kind of stuff. It wasn't, like, I never really, like, anticipated actually, like, encountering God at church. Because, again, like, I never really had, like, looked at it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I just kind of played along just to placate her, honestly, like, at that point in time.
Yeah. And then I just kept praying for him because I knew, like, he wasn't fully on board. And I appreciate him showing up, but he wasn't even sitting through the sermons. He was sitting in the back with Freya because she would, like, have these total meltdowns.
Yeah.
And it was the men's night. Was it in January or February?
I think it was the end of January.
End of January. It was the first men's night that he
Yeah.
attended. And I was, like, at home. Rafe was only a month old. And I was, like, holding him, again, rocking a baby to sleep. And I just started, like, like, he left. He's like, I'll go. Fine, I'll go meet some of these guys. And I just kept praying for him, like, I think almost the whole time. And he came home completely different. Like,
Really?
completely different. Like, he
Wow.
walked in and, it, like, the atmosphere in our apartment changed, and like he wasn't even in, like, our bedroom is in the back, and he opened the door and I felt the shift. I hadn't even seen
You're a
him.
feeler. You feel
Yeah.
You feel atmospheres. You feel stuff, and I also think you have just a sense of knowing things too. Just different prophetic things.
Yeah.
We can talk about later. Dan, do you care to, like, dive into what happened, or if that's personal, you don't have to?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think it was, I can't remember who was preaching that
Gabe.
Sunday. No, I think it was Pastor David, and then I went to the men's night, and it was Gabe. But Pastor David was doing this whole, you know, thing. I think we were in the book of Romans, and he was talking about, like, morality and, like, if you don't believe in God and, like, be good and be saved, like, you're going to hell. Like, it was, like, one of those, like, you know, like, I'm not doing him any justice. But, like, I mean, that was, like, kind of the thrust of it, right? And then Gabe's message of the men's night, if I recall correctly, was more along the lines of, hey, you know, what does it mean to, like, be, a man and, like, a father, and, like, what are your responsibilities, and how do you, like, kind of, you know, step up? I think that was it. And I was just like, I feel like I'm just, like, failing at everything, and then I just remember, like, very suddenly, it was as if, like, I mean, I hate to use, like, the metaphor of, like, the scales, like, kind of falling away from your eyes, but I don't really know, like, any other way to kind of describe it. And, you know, like, I sort of, like, understood, and I could feel, like, the heaviness of sin in my life, and like, the feeling that I got was like I was in, like, Deepwater Horizon kind of territory, and, like, it was just, like, going to swallow me whole. And now that I think about, like, when I go back and I think about it, it's like I'm 99.9% certain that God was telling me, like, your spiritual man is just dying. Like, you are dying. But it doesn't have to be this way, right? So there was, like, that angle of it. And then, like, the opposing, you know, tug was like, you know what, like, you're useless, and, like, God will never accept you, etc., etc. So then we came back. So I came back from the men's night, and I was already like, like hearing these voices in my head, but not actually like audible voices, but just kind of like sensing it in my head. And then we were watching, I think, like a Gabe sermon where he was like talking about like the forgiveness of God, and at that point I was just like, like none of this like in and of itself makes sense, but when you pull it all together, it's like very clear what you need to do. And I never really experienced like anything like that in my life. Like it was just like it suddenly became very clear to me. And then the next morning, I was driving to a chiropractor. I go like super early so I can get the parking. And I just like sat in the car, and then I prayed, like honestly and sincerely, for the very first time in my life. I was like, Jesus, if you are real, like I repent of my sins. I know I am dying. You gotta come in and save me, because like I can't do this on my own. Like I'm man of unclean lips, sinful guy, whatever it is, and I need you to help me. So I, literally like thrusting out my hand to God, and I was just like, what if he doesn't show up? And then like he just showed up, and almost instantaneously, like I could feel the weight and like the heavy, like inky darkness just kind of pull away. And I like, again, like never like felt anything like that in my life. And I was like, like in a puddle of tears. And a lot of people who know me know that I'm not like I'm not an emotional guy. Like I've never, actually I was just thinking about this the other day. Like I had not shed a tear for almost over a decade. The last time I had shed a tear was at my grandmother's funeral.
He didn't even cry when our kids were born.
Yeah. Like I'm just like that's and that's like my barometer for like knowing when like God is showing up, and like when something is happening, because like it's the complete opposite of like how I would think about something, or how I would see something, or how I would feel about something, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yep.
Oh wow. Okay, I have so many thoughts. Like talk about a praying wife, an interceding wife. Just like all you can do is pray.
Yeah,
really.
That's all you could,
Truly.
especially with him, because he's so stubborn.
Mm-hmm. And I hope that if anyone is listening to this, and like you're a woman and you're married to a man who's not a Christian, like I don't like whether you married him and you were a Christian, or like you became a Christian later, like just keep praying for him. Like just keep praying for him. I don't think nagging works.
No,
just pray.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How many times?
I tried nagging.
Yeah.
That did not work. No.
Yeah. All Paul tells women to do is pray for their husbands. Like that's all that's gonna, because only another man or God himself is gonna change a man's mind.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I think. I mean, not that men shouldn't listen to the input of their wives, but
it doesn't have the same weight.
No,
it just doesn't.
Oh, that's so cool. And like God encountered you just from praying over your babies every night, like before you. So you were like having a relationship with God before you were even at church. Really.
Yeah.
Like, he gave you...
I secretly bought a Bible, because I didn't want Dan to know, and I'm like, I don't want to know I'm like dabbling, because I'm dabbling.
What is this witchcraft?
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
I was waiting for it. Like our entire when we first got married, I was always so scared to ask him this question, like, do you believe in God? I never asked it because I never wanted him to say anything. So I never asked it.
No, the question would have been no.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's why.
No.
That's why I never wanted to ask it, because I never wanted him to say. I never wanted him to say it, and I don't even know why. But I bought a Bible, and I was secretly reading it. Like he worked so much. Like I would just sit there and lean over and read a chapter, and then I'd close it and put it away. And then one day I left it out, and he looked at it. He's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "I bought a Bible." He's like, "What?" I'm like, "A couple months ago, I just felt like I needed to buy a Bible." He's like, "Oh, cool. Maybe I should have one." I was like, "Yeah, let me get you a Bible." Yeah.
God is so cool.
It was so fun. It was just so funny. But yeah, I mean, I was in a very elementary way of like seeking God, like the way that like I was said in the beginning of how I was taught to seek God, just growing up, like read a Bible and pray and don't expect too much. But like God showed up in a huge way with him, like huge, just huge.
I can't believe how new of like believers you guys are. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you've impacted our community in such an incredible way. Like, I'd assumed you guys have been Christians for a while. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love, Dan, your experience because you had the knowledge of two things at once, like the weight of your sin, but also just like the weight of his grace, you know, and that's the gospel, right? It's like, until you recognize the weight of your sin, you're not going to appreciate his sacrifice.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I was also just kind of like, you can't tell this about me, I'm a very skeptical guy. I'm very, very skeptical. Like, if I were a character in the Bible, I'd be Thomas. Like, I would literally go up to Jesus, like, you sure he died? You know? You sure he rose again? That kind of thing. But, like, I mean, even then, when I was praying to the Lord, I wasn't sure. Yeah. I wasn't sure. Like, I think that has been the consistent theme in the last, like, year and change of walking with God, just, you know, in terms of like stepping out in faith and like doing, like, it's like, you know, Pastor Dave always talks about, right, in his old sermons about, you know, Abraham, like hearing not that I'm Abraham, but like, you know,
I went
you
back
hear
and all those too.
Yeah.
So
like hearing the call of God and then like just taking that one step and just listening, right? Like I was just like, you know what, 50-50 chance he shows up. You know, maybe I'll die in, you know, like some horrific fashion the next day because he was like, oh, I'm just going to smite you instead. But it didn't happen. I mean, like, it's just like...
Or like, might as well try because I'll die anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So, it was, you know, like, I think God is always, like, very unexpected. That's what I know about the Lord. Like, he's always very unexpected. But then when he shows up, it's just like, you know... I never really like saw it from this way, or like I never really thought about this way, and it's always, you know, 10 times or more magnitude better than you could have ever imagined.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh, that's so cool. I don't know if you guys listened to Friza's story. I had her on. Do you guys know Friza?
Yeah.
From church?
Yeah.
She has a crazy story too. Like, she grew up in a Muslim home.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Jesus found her. Like, oh, so cool. Okay, well, new Christians. Now we're getting into the prophetic at church.
Yeah.
We're all part of a small group led by our friends Ashley and Kathy, and it's been really cool to start unlocking some spiritual gifts, and you guys have had your own share of experiences with that, some warfare and some stuff. So did you guys want to share any of that?
It's been
because you've had some crazy dreams.
Yeah.
You've seen visions too, right? Or no?
I couldn't
pray,
and I've seen things for other people. But like you said, like I've been feeling things, which is very hard living in New York.
Yeah, you're gonna feel everything around here.
Yeah. It's been a weird. I don't want to say weird, but it's been a very challenging time, especially when you're married, because
But we weren't really on equal footing, right? Because, like, I mean, like, you have the example of your mother,
yeah,
right? Her mom is a very godly woman and, like, also, you know, somewhat prophetic. So, like, she already sort of had, Rebecca already sort of, like, had that reference point.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I never really, like, again, like, growing up in...
This is your first experience of, like, any sort of prophetic...
Yeah.
Like, schooling. I don't even want to call it schooling, but...
Yeah.
Wow, for a better word.
But you had an example, like, I didn't, like, in my old church in Singapore, there was none of that, no healing, no nothing, it was just kind of, like, there. So going in, like, she was, I think, you were probably, I think, a little bit more prepared and like a little bit more like expectant. But like for me, I was just the skeptic going in, being like, oh, this is gonna be cool. Like we'll get to read about these prophets, we'll learn like a few tricks or whatever, and then like that'll be it,
Party
right?
tricks.
Or whatever. But like you learn some knowledge and like that'll be it.
But
Like
you
I
didn't
never.
want to join.
Yeah, at first I was just like, I don't even know if I want to do this, man. Like, I'll go for the prayer breakfast because there's like eggs.
Because there's eggs there, yeah.
Like, I don't have to be skeptical about that because Colton says there will be eggs.
Colton's really nice, so.
There will be eggs. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of naturally skeptical as well. I've grown in faith a lot, but like I don't think I really got into the prophetic, I guess, until like a couple years ago. Like I would never call myself like I was a cessationist. Like I believed in the Holy Spirit, but I grew up in like a non-denominational setting where it just wasn't really. It was all pretty organized. People weren't typically speaking in tongues. It was like Hillsong service.
Yeah.
Same, yeah.
But not as formal as like a Methodist church or like an Anglican service or whatever.
Yeah, no tongues or healing or prophecy there. I tell you that.
Right.
Yeah.
And that can even go on another spectrum where people don't think you're spiritual enough unless you're speaking in tongues.
Right.
So it's like everyone just takes it to such extremes both ways. Okay, so.
Well, maybe I'll go first because
you go first.
So anyway, we go for the class.
So Dan took a step of faith. He was
I
like
took
Abraham.
yet
He took a step of faith, not knowing where he was going.
So we did the class, and then Rebecca and I went out to have dinner after that.
The first class.
Very first class.
Morandi.
Morandi, right, like just across the street. I had a glass of wine, and we had a bunch of pasta and tiramisu, and it was great.
Okay.
Wait, no, but this is important.
Okay.
This is important because, just to frame it and like give you like the state of mind, right? So then after we went home.
No, you're missing.
What?
Like the conversation.
Right. Yeah. Well, why don't you talk about that part?
No, please.
Oh, well, anyway, fine. Well, we were just like talking about it, and then again, I was, like being an idiot and just saying like, oh well, I don't think I will ever like see anything. I don't think this is like, this is not for me. Like this is not for me. And then I said, but you know what? Like, I really hope, because they were talking about like demons, right, and like how like people can see things, and I was just like, you know what? Like, I really hope that I don't see a demon because I think that would be really freaky. And then, so then we go home, and we settle in, and then like Rafe starts crying. I think it was like 11 or like close to midnight, and I get out, I go in, and like I feed him his bottle, and I'm like rocking him, and then like I see something just like move out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, this can't be. And then like the thing was like, then I think it was, if I recall correctly, I think like the sensor light went off or something. Like it was just, it was like there was something definitely moved, but it wasn't you, it wasn't the dogs, the 3 dogs, because we had Bella staying over at that point, because the door was closed, right? And I was just like, oh shoot.
That dog has been to every single family that I know at this church. Okay.
She's the king's
She's
dog.
like, she's like, it's like how Biden says there are children. She's our dog.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So I'm like thinking to myself, that's weird, freaky, and I'm like starting to feel like the heebie-jeebies.
The sensor light. So there's a light in our hallway that turns on if you walk by it.
Okay.
Just
I'm pretty sure it went on. Like that part, like I definitely saw some movement. I thought, oh, maybe it's my hair, like just moving in my face or whatever. And then, I'm just like, I'm trying to like pay no mind to it. Then like in the back of my head, or like sorry, in my mind's eye, like I could sort of like visualize like this human like face, but like it's instead of like the head being like the face being like this, it was like craning its neck around like the corner of the door and like looking at me. And then I was like, that's freaky. But then like the more I try to like visualize it, it was like it's not like fully human. Like it kind of like had like hair to like kind of like my hair like to here. And then for some reason I was like, it kind of has like this weird neck that's connected to this body, and it's on all fours, and the all fours are like by where the pantry is. And it was like oddly specific, right? And I was like, oh, well, that's creepy. But whatever. I was like, thinking to myself, okay, I had a glass of wine, I ate the tiramisu, just like imagination, whatever. And then...
It's a tiramisu, guys.
It's a tiramisu. And then, I don't know if it was me thinking this, or like, I don't know if it was the Holy Spirit speaking, but like the words, it is a lamasu, like popped into my head. And I was like, well, that's oddly specific. And I said, I think I've had enough. I'm going to bed. So I went to sleep.
It is a lot. Oh.
Yeah.
It's not a word we use in our house.
It's not a word. Yeah. So.
Not a word we use at all.
Yeah. And then I go to sleep, and then like up until this point, like one of the best things about me is that like I have no dreams. Zero. I will go to sleep. I will, even I'm really tired. It could be 3 a.m. I'll get up at like 8, whatever. I'll go to sleep. Lights out like this, and then I'll wake up and I'll be like, okay, I'm not gonna go along with
It's not true, actually, but
what? For the most part.
Sometimes he'll like gnash his teeth in my ear. He'll be like,
yeah, but I'm not like.
But he knows he's asleep.
but he's asleep. But he
I'm
doesn't.
asleep.
Yeah, it's like
Men can just clock out.
yeah,
and
he's
not
not
think
like a
about it.
corpse who doesn't move. Just
Right.
Yeah.
yes.
So I don't really dream, and then I started having these like really vivid dreams and then the weird part was that I could actually remember them after I woke up, and that had never really happened to me before. And there were some things in it, which I won't repeat here, but like at the end, like at the end of the dream, like I was in a sort of darkish room. There was like a long table,
Like a conference.
it's kind of like a conference table, and there's this guy standing at the other end of it, and he was just like staring at me, but like kind of through me, and he kind of looked like Hugo Weaving from the Lord of the Rings hairstyle, like kind of like Elrond, like pulled back here, but like golden shining hair, dressed in like white, and like just really piercing blue eyes, and I could just like sense like a lot of anger, but then I wasn't afraid, I was just like I was just like, you're creepy, like this is creepy. And then like I started hearing a voice, and it started like saying some stuff to me, and then at that point like I started feeling fearful, but I think it was because like that was like God like saying stuff, and like to me I think like when you're in the presence of the Lord and he's like really there and like saying some stuff, like that's when you feel like the mixture of like fear and awe.
Mm-hmm.
And then like I was just like suddenly like violently like jolted awake, and like I could feel just like my stress levels were like up here, and I was just like, wow, that is like super weird. And it was like 3 a.m, and that was my first thought was like, I should probably go talk to Pastor David about that. And I went to use the bathroom and I fell back asleep, and then I woke up, and then I was like, I'm pretty sure I thought like the word lamasu, I don't know, it sounds like a made up word, right? So let me go and Google it. So apparently it's like this Assyrian like spirit of like, I don't know, like power or wealth or whatever. But the kicker is this. It has the head of a human, and then like a body of like, I don't know, a sphinx or whatever, had like 4 legs. So I was just like, that's super creepy, because like that's, like without like actually like seeing it like with like my own like physical eyes, like that was the sort of like the internal visual that I had of it.
Yeah.
And then the name was so specific.
Yeah.
And then I was just like, I don't really think about lamasus. Like nobody really thinks about this stuff, right? It's like ancient Sumerian or Syrian whatever, like mythology. Like who the heck thinks about that?
Yeah.
So that was super weird.
Wow. So you never remember dreams. The one thing you asked to not see was a demon, and that's what you saw. So that's interesting. And then you felt like in that dream God was there, like protecting you.
Not really protecting me. It was just saying, he was saying something to me that I've been praying about a lot, and it was like a whisper, it was just like soft. It was like, and I was just like, terrified. Like, I was just like, oh. I wasn't terrified of the guy who when I... Huh? No, he wasn't yelling. He was just, like, staring straight through me. And then... But after, like, when I thought about it, I was like... And when I, like, really searched my heart, I was like, I knew that was the devil. Like, again, if people who know me will say, Dan is not like this. Dan doesn't believe in this stuff.
Right.
Dan is a logical, skeptical guy.
Yeah.
And here I am talking about, like, dreaming of the devil, like, staring through me and all sorts of weird stuff. But that's how I know that it was not just some kind of fever dream. Like, I can imagine, like, all my friends from high school, like, watching this podcast right now, and they're like,
What?
this is not you. Like, you have either taken a lot of drugs or, like, you've gone off.
You've joined a cult.
You've joined a cult.
Has anything happened since? Like,
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
a lot. Okay.
We're just yeah.
It's one day at a time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and we and I had, like, a bunch of other dreams and visions. So, like, one time worshiping in church, I saw a vision which I shared with Pastor David about, like, and again, like, super weird. Who was I telling this to? But, like,
Do you see them when your eyes are closed or your eyes
usually
open?
when they're closed.
Okay.
So I was just, like, worshiping, and I was like, I got to church, like, not expecting anything. I think I went to, like, karaoke the night before with my friends. I had a great time. And, like, I came in just, like, I'm ready to worship. I had my sausage, egg, and cheese, and I'm, like, coffee, and I'm, like, ready to go. Like, this is gonna be great. Yeah, exactly, right? Just, like, roll in and, like, not expecting anything, and, like, I'm just worshiping, and there's just, like, this massive, it's almost like a very detailed painting, just, like, floats into, like, my mind of, like, an arc just breaking out from the clouds. Like, it's kind of like if Noah's Ark was a UFO and it was, like, coming down from the clouds, like, that kind of thing, and it was just, like, brilliant and shining, and it's all covered in glory. And, like, I still see it when I think about it in my head, and it's just, like, one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. But then it was also, like, I am terrified. Again, like, that feeling of, like, mixture of, like, fear and awe was, like, with me in that service. And you can ask her, I was sitting next to her, like, the entire service, I was just, like, just freaked out. Like, so, like, again, feeling that mixture of fear and awe. And then, like, I felt this physical, like, pull in the pit of my stomach. And it was kind of, like, telling me, it was kind of like the Holy Spirit telling me, like, you need to go and say something. Because, like, if I've given you this gift, right, like, if you're not going to use it, then, you're kind of a tool. Like, so you should probably go and use it, right?
Well, I love that, like, Ashley brought that up in group the other night. She was like, the prophetic is not for us, it's for
Correct.
everyone else.
It's for everybody else.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you're not going to go and bless your community with it, then, like, don't waste your time, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't like going up there or, like, saying anything. So I just like, hey, David, like, this,
You
right?
say it,
I
yeah.
explain it to you.
You say it.
Do what you want with it. Maybe you should close it. I don't know. Like, this is not, like, I don't know. Like, I just come to your church and I sit in the congregation. Like, that's what I do. And then that was it. Like that.
That was not it, but
What?
that was it that day.
Yeah. What was the other one thing that happened
I
after
think
that?
you want to talk about the other one.
Oh yeah, that's not well. Then I think she started having at home these bouts of, like, spiritual muteness. Like, she wouldn't be able to pray, and, like, she would have, like, a lot of anxiety, like, when she was trying to, like, read the Bible or pray. And it was how long was it going on for? Like 2 weeks, something like that.
Like, when you would...
I couldn't pray. Like, I could read the Bible, but I was very uncomfortable. Just weird.
Did you pray in your heart, or...
Kind of, but no.
Wow.
Like, there was, like, it was very chaotic. Like, whenever I would try to pray, it was like, I couldn't form the words in my mind. It was just like, I think the best thing I keep thinking of, like, John Nash, like, if you've seen The Beautiful Mind, like how when he's like, it's garbled. Like there's pieces, but you can't make sense of it. And I would like get a piece of like something I'm trying to pray for, but I couldn't like pray into it. It was very bizarre. And I was telling Tammy this. I'm like, the only thing I could do is read the Psalms out loud. I couldn't actually form my own prayers. And whenever I would try to like pray even out loud, like I had like lockjaw. Like it felt like that. Like my mouth would get stuck, and my mouth would get stuck in weird positions. And that's how I knew like it wasn't me. Like it would be like mid word, and it was like it would be stuck like that for like 30 minutes. It was like very heavy. So Dan, it was kind of like the opposite of what was happening with Dan. Like it seemed like Dan's like spiritual gifts were being unlocked, and I was like being put behind, like into a box, and it felt very dark.
She felt very disappointed and very discouraged.
Extremely disappointed, extremely
Upset.
discouraged.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, because I don't have the prophetic gift. Like it wasn't, that's not why I was discouraged. It was like, felt like a spiritual attack. Like just over and over. And it was, and it was all day. Like all day. Like the kids would be like acting up.
Just like chaotic.
It was just chaos. Like I couldn't quiet my mind. I couldn't find like moments of quiet. During that time, Rafe was waking up like every hour. So I could like, because typically I would try to wake up at 5 and I pray and then I go to the gym. Put God first.
We gotta go to the gym. We gotta
go to the gym.
And this was only like a couple weeks ago.
It was only a couple weeks. And it felt forever. Like it was about 2 weeks. It felt like months. Like I was in this thing for months. Like it just felt very dark, anxious, anxiety. And we missed group like that week, the week after.
We were so exhausted.
Because Rafe kept waking up.
Every night.
Yeah.
He was just waking up.
And that was not normal.
No.
Wow.
No.
So ever since you guys started this prophetic group, stuff's been weird.
Yeah, it's been like an attack, and it's felt like an attack on like our marriage because we've been exhausted because we wouldn't be able to spend time together, and like I was telling Dan what was going on, and he was kind of like didn't really know what to make of it at the time, and I'm just like it's weird, like that's what I just kept saying, and then I told Kathy one Sunday what was happening. And like she was telling me like she was having like certain things happening, and for whatever reason like saying it out loud to Kathy like seemed to, I think I was telling this to you, like it like took the power away from whatever was happening, and I felt like this huge weight lifted off my shoulders by saying it out loud to her. And then like that Sunday, like I'm in worship too, and I'm standing next to a couple at our church. And I just got like this very clear image for them. And again, it's like the prophetic is for the community. It's not for you. And I was like, there's no way. Like God doesn't speak to me like that, because that's the thing. But that's the thing. Like we're both
we're so quick to doubt.
We're so quick to doubt. And also like this whole like really dark, anxious time was like, you're not worthy. I was having dreams, and like people from church were in them, like being like, you're not worthy. Like you have so much sin in your background, like you've done so many horrible things, like God hasn't really forgiven you, you haven't forgiven people, like it was all of this. And I would wake up from these like dreams and be like, did I not forgive them? I thought I forgave them, like, and I like it was very confusing. And it was like I don't remember dreams either, but like my dreams weren't nice dreams, like they were very anxious dreams. But so we're in worship, and I get this very clear picture for this couple next to us, and I'm just like, I don't really talk to them. They're gonna think I'm weird. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm not saying anything. Like we barely talk. I'm not saying anything. And then like all through service, like I didn't get a pit in my stomach, but like when I feel the presence of God, like my hands shake. But here, like one of my fingers, like it just like it's really insane. And I was like, felt God being like, you need to say something. Like, this is not for you. This is not for you. And then I would look at another couple who I'm like, I'm friends with them. Like, are you sure it's not for them? Like, I can go up and tell them. And it's like, no, it's not for them.
Wow.
And like, I couldn't not tell them because they're the same thing. So, so that was.
So you told them though, right?
I told.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I held it. No. Yeah.
What was their response?
I think there was a bit of confusion because I don't think they've like had anybody say anything from what they told me. Like, nobody's said anything to them. Like, has had a clear image for them, and I'm like, I don't know what to make of it. Like, what it was, like what it is, like the utility of what it is. It's not for me to say what I saw, but the utility of what it is like very clear. Like, there's a purpose of this particular object that I saw, but I didn't get the sense that that's like what it is for. And so, like, I'm like, I'm gonna tell you, I don't know what to do about it. You pray about it. And like, so have I. I've been praying for them too, and it's just like, that's the whole point of like this whole prophetic gift though. But just telling them, like, it seemed to be like an encouragement, because even if like they don't fully understand what it is in the moment, it's like God's thinking about you, and he's using people to talk to you and to convey like 100%. You are on his mind. And I think like the church has done a really bad job of trying to cultivate like spiritual gifts.
Yes, totally.
Absolutely. Like it's just, it's such a, it's
an afterthought.
Such an afterthought. It's like, oh, we're gonna have a prophet come.
Right.
It's like they farm it out,
right.
And it's just so lazy. And it's like, it's really meant to equip the saints. It's meant to encourage the community. And it's like, you can't have somebody come in and be like, I'm a prophet, and I'm gonna prophesy over like 10 of you, and the rest of you like.
Yeah, we can all be prophetic if we grow this, you know.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, it sounds like it's like the enemy's attacking you both in different ways. / I also think for you, God is letting you see into the spiritual realm to equip you to know how to intercede and pray. Yeah. I think it's a combination of both for you. But I think the enemy's been attacking you, you know, to make you doubt when you have something for someone.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's just been a wild week.
That is crazy.
Well then, last Friday, last Friday, I went for the men's boxing group, and she was at home alone, and she felt like very uneasy. And then when I came back, you know, Rebecca was just like, I don't want to like sleep in our room. Like, I'm like itchy, whatever, dog hair, and like it's like we found out later that we had this massive mold problem.
Well, not because we're dirty.
Yeah, it's just like the building is not well built,
right.
and like it's causing her to like have like allergy type reactions. And she's like, I'm gonna go sleep on the couch. So I said, fine. You know, I'm not feeling anything. I'm just gonna like go to sleep. And then Rafe, I can't remember if Rafe woke up and I rocked him when we came back, or it was before this, but I was like sleeping, and then like suddenly like I see this like in my dream like this demon like pop up like right next, like he was like here. I was like lying down, he was like here. And he looked like that like internet thing, like the Slender Man. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Slender Man, no.
Well, Google it later, and like you'll terrify yourself and give yourselves nightmares.
Maybe I don't want to look it up.
Don't look it up.
But it's like
skinny demon.
It's like a skinny demon. It doesn't have a face. It was like right next to me, and then I felt like, so I've had like sleep paralysis before in my youth, where like also like demonic things like had revealed themselves, and I was just like at that point, of course, you know, ate a bad cheesecake or whatever, and
you guys didn't do soul care, right?
No.
But anyway, I was like, this is.
I'm reading it now.
I had to read it.
I had to read it when we started it.
So I was like, in like my initial like sleep paralysis encounters, it felt like I was under, right, for like a half hour to like maybe like a few hours, and I would feel like this like crushing weight on me, and like I could see my body and all that kind of stuff. and I would be horrified, and then I wake up, and then only like 20 seconds would have passed, right? But here, like the demon shows up, and it startled me at first, and then like all I remembered next was like I was like in a rage. I was just like furious. Like, I felt this like feeling of like just white hot anger like bubble up inside of me, and then like I think maybe it was like my spirit man or whatever like jump out of my body, and he was like, "I'm gonna murder you, demon," and it was just like I just went right after it, and then it just like disappeared.
Amazing.
So that was like a totally like different experience for me, because like before it had always been like I would feel like overpowered by it, but this time around it was just like, no, like you're going away.
Yeah, God is teaching you to fight for sure, and you might.
I don't know if it's a
Now I'm
boxing
like-
class.
Now
you
I'm
know.
being like, I don't know. I'm exercising the prophetic too, but you might be someone who like casts demons out of people. Like you really might. I don't know.
We'll see.
Or at least in some sort of deliverance ministry. Maybe both of you. I don't know. This is really cool. I'm just like, I'm really excited about where our church is going, and I think this is so important, especially for the world in this day and age. Like, it needs to be normal that the church is a place where like demons are being cast out and where people are being healed and where prophetic words are being spoken on the regular. Like, people, like, it needs to be a place of sign and wonders and the Holy Spirit.
It shouldn't be anemic.
Anyway.
It should not be anemic.
Yes.
No.
Right.
But then she had a different experience, which we should talk about.
Well, it's anyway. Friday night though too. Like I'm sleeping on the couch and I like got jolted awake because it's like it's
You're
a
a
feeling.
feeler.
Yeah, and I was like, there's something in the kitchen.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You guys.
I know this is bad.
You
We had gone
guys.
over the apartment with anointing oil,
Okay.
prayed over it.
Yeah.
Have you had someone come in and do it? Like pray with you guys?
So Ashley and Tammy, like we
Okay.
told them all this, and we like on Sunday they called us and they like
Yeah.
they prayed, and
Yeah.
it definitely feels better in there. But yeah, I mean, Friday I like woke up and I'm like, I don't want to look at the kitchen. There's something in the kitchen, and I'm just like, I want to be behind a door. So I went and slept with Freya, which wasn't like that much more relaxing.
She moves around.
Because she moves around and punches me in the face. But like I just was like jolted awake. Like I'm like, something's looking at me. Like that sense, like the
You feel
interesting
when something's
here's the interesting thing with like what's happening with us prophetically is that like I'm feeling before he sees. And it's kind of like I keep using this analogy with Dan. It's like when you walk into a room and you can feel somebody's there before you see them. And that seems to be what's, and I'm not sure where God's taking us on this, but right now that's how it's manifesting. Is like I'm feeling and then he's seeing.
That's so. I want to say cool, but I know this is not comfortable.
Yeah.
Wow. It is cool, but I know it's very uncomfortable and not fun for you guys.
It's a heavy thing.
Yeah.
It's a heavy thing, but it's also like, I don't know. I'm not annoyed. I don't know how to. I'm not annoyed that demons are showing up because I'm
Yeah.
like we're
But like
We're
what, like
doing something,
maybe
right?
God is gonna have you guys walk into rooms and spaces and stuff and together, and you're gonna feel something that He's gonna say. I don't know.
who
like,
knows? I mean, I have no idea
There's a reason
how
for
God's gonna use this, but
I was about to say nope. I've seen enough horror movies, but
Okay,
I'm
now
not
we're
saying that.
gonna-
No, but the lesson I've learned is to not say this is not going to
like we're
happen.
gonna walk into Tara's kitchen now. We're gonna be like,
Yeah, no, I don't mean like. I don't want you guys walking into haunted houses
No.
on purpose. I just mean like wherever God is gonna use you both to influence the world, the city, whatever. Like you guys are gonna change the atmosphere by walking in. You're gonna feel it and you're gonna see it. And
Yeah.
it's gonna be.
it'll be really.
You're gonna shift things from
it's-
these gifts.
I hope because we're just at this point of where it's like.
Yeah.
We're stripped. Like I'm exhausted. I'm stripped.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
God,
yeah.
just show up. Like you, whatever you want us to do, we're gonna do because we can't. I can't make heads and tails out of like what's happening, and only
Yeah.
He can. So
And what a like crazy, fast, chaotic journey you guys have been on. The fact that you gave your lives to God in 2021.
yeah, I mean, but I
It's
think
only been like 3 years. Like really
For her,
For me.
it's been a year.
wild.
it's
That's insane.
yeah.
That's insane.
But I think we were so like broken, and we were so like I had
You're
nothing
ready to
left.
like be saved. You're
Yeah, and I
desperate.
knew, and it's like I still
Yeah.
had this knowledge, and I knew like that we needed God, and it was just like I was stripped. I had nothing left, and I think that like when you seek God really earnestly, and you come before Him, and you're like, I have nothing left. I have nothing left. Like I need you. Like He shows up. He just shows up in a
It's like
big,
the
big
woman
way.
who wanted to grab Jesus's robe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that desperate feeling of
Yeah.
like we just need your presence. Yeah.
Oh, so cool. I'm so glad I had you guys on. Was
Oh,
there
our
anything
pleasure.
else you guys wanted to share or like
I feel like we kind of touched on
Yeah.
everything at least at this point.
I think we've relayed all the metal parts.
the metal parts
Oh
of
my
it.
Gosh.
This was a very metal episode.
No.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, I'm gonna be praying for you guys for
Thank
just
Thank you.
Yeah, and for discernment on like what's an attack and maybe needs some more like praying over, and what is like God training you
Yeah.
guys. I think you're in a combination of both.
Yeah.
So
Well, it definitely feels like it.
yeah. And I love that you're reading Soul Care. I've officially brought it up on almost every single podcast I've been on lately.
Oh yeah, I had to, especially when I'm
It's so
like
good.
believing, like when you have these dreams, and I'm like, oh gosh, I need to read this old book and make
Yeah,
sure I don't
yeah.
have anything that I need to deal with. But
Yeah.
no,
Oh, well, awesome. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
guys.
our
Thanks for having
pleasure.
us.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
fun.